Hello everyone, welcome to My Tech Pro Tips. So what I'd like to do is give a brief overview of my go-to tools that I carry with me almost everywhere that allows me to do diagnosis, installs, and repair jobs on 12-volt systems. ATVs, side-by-sides, boats, buggies, jeeps, trucks, cars, whatever. So this is kind of my core tool set that I use for almost everything. So what I want to do is break this down and explain each one of these in detail. So what I have here is two jumpers. These jumpers are long enough to go from front to back on most vehicles. They have alligator clips on each end, and they're also color coordinated, as 12 volt is typically black and red for all intents and purposes. So one thing I'd like to point out about this is the fact that I do have an inline fuse. Why do I have an inline fuse? Because most circuits that are installed typically have a fuse, and if I just connect a wire without a fuse, then I have no protection for that wire. So in case I dead short it, or the component I connect is shorted internally, whatever that may be, it protects this wire from melting down and blows the fuse and allows me to diagnose why that fuse blew. The next thing is electronic cleaner, contact cleaner. This is made by CRC. They also make a standard contact cleaner, but what's nice about this one is it's PCB safe and sensitive electronics safe. It will not harm almost all electronics. So it's not as strong as the regular contact cleaner, but I use it on just about everything. So if you have contacts that get water and mud and whatever in them, or say you put dielectric grease on them and you need to change that or clean that out, this is great to use in combination with, say, something like this, you know, a standard wire brush or something. This is liquid electrical tape. This can be used to seal off components from water entry and protect them and keep them from oxidizing and corroding. This can be used on just about anything. It's much better than silicone, because silicone can be harmful and actually cause corrosion on copper and aluminum wire and components. The other go-to is Scotch Super 33, right? This is a go-to in the electrical industry. All electricians carry this. It's great tape. It can be used for many different things. So now down to the hand tools. Not neglecting my multimeter. This is, I don't know, probably a $40 multimeter. I've had it for about 5 or 6 years. It has an amp clamp at the end of it that allows me to measure current. For most things, it's rated up to 300 volts at 100 amps. So most components in 12 volt systems, so your big stereos or your winches, you wouldn't want to use this. You would use a larger capacity clamp. But this digital multimeter allows me to do just about everything. It's small, and the leads are nice and they're flexible. This is what I use for almost all heat shrink work that I do. You know, a lot of people use heat guns, and there's applications for heat guns. You can cause damage with this, but when you get accustomed to using this, this is your friend. You can get in tight spots with it. You can refill it. You don't need to be plugged into a power source. It's great. It's just got a little tip. It doesn't throw a flame, just heat. Next thing are wire strippers. These are Greenlee. I bought these at Sears on sale with a couple other things like this, these crimpers here that you see. But I like these. They're spring loaded. They have a nice grip on them. I don't have to struggle to strip wires. They're very sharp, and they work very well. Don't skimp on your wire strippers when you buy. You can buy a cheap one from a Home Depot or an auto store, you know, for $5-8, and they're almost useless. I hate using those. And it even has a crimp here, but I don't like using that because unless you're doing an end crimp, a terminal at the end of a wire, it's a pain to disconnect the spring and get around the wire. And that's what we have these for, which I'll get to in a second. These wire strippers are meant for smaller gauge, and as you can see here, they go from 20 all the way to 30 gauge, right? They're also spring loaded. Very small, very sharp. They work great for little wires like LEDs or relay controls, things like that. This is another Greenlee product. Everybody makes a version of these. They have a lot of weight to them, which helps you when you do your crimp. They have very long handles, so you can get out on the end and get some leverage when you do a crimp. You can do insulated and non-insulated crimping with this. It's very important to know the difference between the two and use the correct crimp, because you can damage the splice or the terminal that you are crimping. I also use this for cutting zip ties, and it even cut down to like a 1/0 cable when I need it to. So last but not least, regarding the tools, is my ratcheting cheap Amazon Titan replaceable die. You can get other dies for these for larger crimps, but these pretty much cover most that you're going to do, and you will use these for insulated terminals. These are insulated terminal crimps, and this keeps the insulation around the terminal or the butt splice protected when you crimp it, so you don't penetrate the crimp where you're crimping at and allow water ingress, right? And this is used for these types of products, right? These heat shrink butt splices, or end terminals, or ring terminals, or whatever you're using. So this is just a little box that I carry with me everywhere that allows me to do repairs and installs. It's like 20 to 30 bucks on Amazon, worth to buy just to have in your shop or keep in your truck or your buggy. They work really, really well. I use these for most wiring jobs. It keeps me from having to solder or using heat shrink tubing, which I also use, but there's a time and a place for all of that, and this is a little faster. And some of them actually have adhesive in them that helps hold and bond the connection and hold the terminal on, right? So just for example, you see this here, you can see some of the adhesive that kind of came out the end, and it holds on to the cable and makes it very strong and rigid so that doesn't pull apart. But thanks for watching. This is my overview of all of my tools. I hope this is helpful, and you know, you don't have to buy the exact version of all of this, but it definitely is something you should have in your toolkit. If you have any questions, feel free to post them in the comments below, or any feedback from me. I'd be glad to help you or hear from you. Thanks for watching My Tech Pro Tips.